You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And of course, this week is all about Snow White. It had a budget of $209 million. Of course, it came in at number one, but that's really not the story. It's about whether it will still be able to connect with audiences. It depends on whether you believe these critics or whether you believe these folks in the I'll say this Twitter sphere who are hating on the movie. And there are people like me who are completely indifferent because I've never been a fan of Disney live action. But Snow White came in with $42 million domestically, $43 million internationally, well balanced for a total of $86 million in its first week. That's not bad. It all depends on the second week drop off, but I'm quite sure it's less than what the Disney company had hoped. And again, I'm consistent in this regard. Disney movies not doing well hurts individual movie theaters because you need these movies to carry movie theaters until we get to the summer months. This is just March. This was a big movie for a lot of movie theaters, and if it underperforms, that just hurts movie theaters. I'm not saying you need to run out and see it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there are consequences and implications for these movies underperforming for reasons having nothing to do with the movie itself, whether it's good or bad. We know the various controversies as far as Gal Gadot and her public proclamations regarding Hamas and what's going on in the Middle East and Israel. And we know about the actress who's playing Snow White. She's half Latina and half Polish, and her skin is a little too dark to be called Snow White for some people. Those are the controversies, air quotes, wherever you want to put them. I'm not going to watch the movie. I'm not going to help it out. I don't care. Tuwala, you and your family have seen all the Disney live actions, right?
We've seen a lot of them. This is not one that anyone wants to see. I'm not going to go see it. My daughter's not going to go see it. No one wants to go see this one.
Any particular reason? Just not interested?
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look interesting. The trails don't look good. The original Snow White, the animated film, it predates my daughter's interest in, like, even when she got into films, those older animated films were like, so they didn't really hit with her. So this is one that's not like high on the list at all.
Coming in, number two is Black Bag. In its second week, it's grossed a total of $23 million, which is nothing. Again, those are the movies which are not really helping movie theaters stay in business. Number three, in its 6th week, Captain America, Brave New World. It's still in 2,900 theaters. This is an example of what we mean. This is a movie which has been in theaters for 6 weeks, almost like 42 days of theaters being open and being able to lean on the movie. It brought in $4 million over the weekend. It crossed the $400 million boundary. I think that's going to be good enough. That's about as far as this movie is going to go. It may get to about $410 million, but that'll be it. But none of the other movies are actually performing at all from the other studios. Novocaine in its second week has brought in a total of $20 million. These movies are insufficient for theaters. Mickey 17, we heard the review of that by not one but two people. That surprisingly has been able to bring in $109 million in, I think it's like 3 weeks. Yeah, this third week. And after that, there are no other major movies which are doing anything at all. And Tuwala, what's the next major release that we know of?
I don't know if anything's coming out anytime soon.
Yeah, that's
really.
What I mean.
May is the next major release with the.
Oh well, there's The Accountant 2 in April.
That's not major.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's not major.
Not enough people know about The Accountant or remember it. I mean, yes, it's got a good cast, but I promise you, that one's not going to do anything.
A movie I do want to see, and it's also not major, The Amateur.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm excited about that.
The Amateur looks good.
That one I'm going to the theater to see.
The original version of that is streaming on Hulu right now from the early 80s, and it is a very good movie.
I'm sure it's not going to have anything. It's not going to do anything to lift the box office. It's just not.
No, it probably isn't.
It's not. We wanted to, but it's not.
And we have Sinners, which I also want to see.
I'm seeing that. Me
April
and Mark
18th.
are going to go see that in theaters.
Yeah.
We're going to go and see it, but you know what? We'll probably be the only two people in there.
You think, really?
Yeah, I think so. I think it has a limited audience appeal. It may have a boost because of word of mouth. I'm hearing tremendous word of mouth about it, but I don't know if it's going to have a huge first weekend box office draw.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just a vampire movie. It seems really, really insular in who they're going after. The promotion for it, they're not going huge with this one. I think the team between Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler, great team. They always knock it out the box. But this one's not going to do it.
Yeah, there's nothing major coming until May, as Tuala was saying.
Yeah.
May. And that's about a month and a half, if not more, away that these movie theaters are going to have to struggle. And then you put undue weight and expectation on these summer blockbusters to make up for the past 3-4 months in which people were not going to the theaters. You can hate on Disney movies all you want, but you're also going to see the demise of your local movie theaters. There's no other way around it. You need these movies to do well if you care about those theaters.
Hey man, I saw that. I forgot that's what I did. It was so forgettable. It was so horrible. I watched that Electric State movie.
We warned him. Didn't we warn him?
Man, that film was poo poo.
Well,
raw poop.
I never finished it. It's one of the few times I just gave up.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh no, don't go back. Oh, that film was trash.
It's a code brown.
I don't know how people didn't realize that they were making it, or and that was the best edited version of it. Of all the edits they did, that was the best version of what they could put together.
Oh man.
And they're talking about a sequel.
Oh man! Oh no! Because in the end, they tell you why there's going to be a sequel. There's a thing that happens.
I'll never find out,
and it's so lame when it happens. It's like, well, what was the point? I literally screamed when I saw the tease for the sequel. I said, "You've got to be blanking kidding me! What was the whole point?"
Just tell me this. This is all I want to know. And if you don't want to hear this, turn off your radio right now because this is going to be a spoiler. Tuala. Did they ever find the body of the brother and wake him up?
They found the body of the brother. No, they did not wake him up. Therein lies the sequel. You literally, like, seriously, if it wasn't my own TV, I would have thrown it. I would have thrown the TV. I said to myself, you're kidding me right now.
Yeah.
That's the sequel? I'm so hot right now.
And talk about bad plot twists. They telegraphed that one so obviously from the very opening scene. Yeah. You knew exactly.
Oh, no. And here's the thing. As soon as, because of your description of how easy it was to read the film, the very first scene I said to myself, you've got to be kidding me. That's not what they're about to do, are they? Right. And then when they did it, I said, oh no. And it wasn't even good how they did it.
Not at all.
It wasn't even good. I was like, this is what you're going to do. Oh,
that was supposed to be big plot twist. No, it wasn't.
I was so mad. Oh, so mad.
We told you not to.
Yeah.
We warned you. Stefan, did you watch it yet?
I was going to until I read the scathing reviews that you two gave.
I would not be your friend.
Yeah.
If I said go watch it for yourself.
I am telling you, not only was I bored the entire time, but then you get angrier and angrier and angrier as it goes. Because then, oh man,
accept the hate, bring it inside yourself.
No, it was so bad.
Wow,
well, Foosh, you've got something better to do than watch that movie. You know what that is? Anything
else?
Anything.
When we come back, we got to tell you about the top monster movies of all time, and we'll see if we can get some sort of agreement on this. The top monster movies of all time.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Growing up, I loved me some monster movies. War of the Gargantuas, obviously Godzilla, Gamera. Usually the Japanese monster movies were the best with the use of the miniatures, but generally monster movies across the board, absolutely loved them. So when I came across this list of the best monster movies of all time, yes, I'm skeptical. And if you are into movies, you're familiar with the website looper.com. I'm familiar with Looper. I like Looper. I like what they have to say. I'm not so sure that I agree with this list, and I'm going to rely heavily on Mark Ronner to either co-sign or disagree with my thoughts about this list.
I'm ready with the hate.
Island of Lost Souls.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, I have not seen that one.
The Island of Dr. Moreau was the remake of that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Very creepy.
Okay, all right. The Host, 2006.
Yeah, that's the Korean movie. I think Bong Joon-ho.
Correct.
You're not going to believe it, but I didn't make it all the way through that one. I know a lot of people love it.
All right. That means it's not one of the best.
Mine is the minority opinion on that. It's very popular.
1982. It was not only a box office failure. It was not critically acclaimed, but it's definitely now a cult classic, The Thing.
Yeah, he was so ahead of his time, John Carpenter, and we shouldn't talk about him like he's dead either. But The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, he was way ahead of his time. He is a genius. And I just, over the weekend, it's funny you bring this up, there were plans for a 2-part TV miniseries on the Sci-Fi Channel to make a sequel, The Return of the Thing. And that's worth going down a rabbit hole about if you've never heard of it.
A genuine sequel. In other words, we find out what happens after Kurt Russell and Keith Davis characters are sitting outside the facility.
Well, in this sequel, they're supposedly found frozen, and it takes up with the Thing infecting the entire world.
Okay. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that because I hated this so-called Thing sequel, which was actually a prequel, and it didn't have any of the same magic.
It was really dumb. I think that was the one with Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Correct.
And they just crawl into the alien craft through like vents in the side.
Yeah, because they could fit.
Yeah, when you're in deep space, you need vents.
Also on this list, The Blob. I guess for historical sake, I didn't care for the movie, but for
the
its
original
time.
Blob with Steve
58.
McQueen.
58.
Yeah, the Blob is you got to put things in their context. And,
I know.
In late 50s, that was some quality stuff.
And I definitely agree with this next one, An American Werewolf in London.
I know that.
Don't piss me off, Mark.
No,
don't piss me off.
It's a horror comedy, and I never thought it went far enough in either direction, but everybody loves it.
Yes, everybody. Don't be the one who does not.
I like it. I don't love it.
The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yep.
Yeah. Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, 1922.
Sure.
I guess.
It's a great double build if you want to watch that and the latest one from Robert Eggers.
This one, I think, has to be on every list. If not, there's something wrong with you. Alien.
No question.
There's
masterpiece.
No doubt. Yeah. It just happens to be set in space, but
I love it more as the years passed. When I saw it as a kid, I thought it was kind of decent. Loved the score, Jerry Goldsmith again. And then the more I see it, and I read Walter Hill's script recently, that thing is just airtight.
One thing I appreciated about this movie is they didn't show you the alien every step of the way. They usually showed just a little piece of the alien, and you saw the fear in the eyes of the crew as it was they were getting ready to get killed.
Oh, yeah, it was terrifying, especially with the claustrophobia of the ship and the low lighting. And that was the first movie that really showed like a dingy future.
Right.
It wasn't all Star Trek. Everything was spit polished. Alien was a masterpiece.
Not only that, it had a great cast.
Yeah.
You're talking about John Hurt, obviously Sigourney Weaver before she was Sigourney Weaver, but you had Tom Skerritt, Harry Dean Stanton, Yaphet Kotto, Ian Holm, just great actors in their own respective rights. Just, it was a wonderful, wonderful movie. And of course, the 1954 version of Godzilla.
Oh, sure. Not the one that added Raymond Burr in, correct?
Well, you don't like Raymond in that?
I love Raymond Burr, but the original played it a lot straighter and was a lot more disturbing. It was a post-World War II nuclear movie.
Yes, that one. And Horror of Dracula to close it out.
Oh, absolutely. The Hammer film from the late 50s with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. That has got the best ending of any Dracula movie of all time. Do you know what I'm talking about with this? Have you seen it?
No, I have not.
Well, Van Helsing and Dracula are in their final face-off, and it looks like Van Helsing has had it. He's toast. But he jumps up on the table, sprints across, and jumps and grabs the curtains and pulls them down and gets Dracula in the sunlight, and then we watch him disintegrate. It's really good. And I just spoil it for everybody. but you know it's a Dracula movie.
It's a Dracula movie.
What else is going to happen?
That's about the only way he's going to die. So, you know.
Yeah.
I've also forgot Veronica Cartwright in Alien.
She really sold the terror of it.
Didn't she?
Especially when the little baby alien bursts out of the chest.
Oh, yeah. She goes absolutely ham in that scene.
And she did the same thing for Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She was like your go-to person if you wanted to sell a horror
I forgot
thing.
about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, why isn't Frankenstein on this list?
Couldn't tell you. It's a horrible list. I can't tell you. It's not in there. It's not in there.
I mean, there's kind of the perfunctory ones, like the Universal monsters, Frankenstein, the Wolfman,
the Mummy. Yeah.
I say the Invisible Man can eat it. I don't need him on the list. He's not even technically a monster.
Yeah, no, not in here. Not in here.
You think there's any missing?
There are. I just haven't spent enough time to think of it, as far as monster movies go.
And here's something else. If you're going to include that Hammer Dracula, the horror of Dracula, which they just called Dracula in the UK, Brides of Dracula is maybe even better. It's the second one, and Christopher Lee's not in it. And Van Helsing kills the vampire at the end of it by jumping on a windmill and catching the vampire in the cross shadow that it makes. It's really good.
What year was this, roughly?
60-ish, 60, 61.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up, but it's in that ballpark.
When we come back, we're going to speak to Gary Hoffman. He recommended this Netflix limited series, Adolescence, to me. He didn't tell me a lot about it. He said, just go watch it. He told me that there was a one-shot for the first episode. And I'm thinking it's just for the first episode, but it was all 4 episodes. So if you don't know what a one-shot is, maybe there's some tricky editing. We'll talk about it. But it looks like it's just one continuous camera scene across multiple locations, sets, driving, walking down halls. It is fantastic up to a point. We'll talk to Gary Hoffman next. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And the other day when I was sitting in for Bill Handel, Gary Hoffman came into the studio, and I don't know how we got there, but he started telling, I guess he just asked me, have you seen Adolescence on Netflix? And I said I had seen some of the previews, but I didn't really know anything about it. And Gary said, you got to see it. And he realized somewhere while watching it that each episode is a one-shot. And if you don't know what a one-shot is, it is what it sounds. It is one camera shot, no edits. And the episodes are an hour long each. Each episode, only 4 episodes, is a limited series, takes place on a different day in this saga. So let me bring into the conversation Gary Hoffman, of course, of Gary and Shannon. Gary, my friend, my brother, how are you this evening?
I just finished that 4th episode about an hour ago, so I'm still amazed at Mo. I'm amazed at how they did this show, and I'm amazed at the. I think it's getting the appropriate amount of praise. It's the number one streamed show when it debuted. It was the number one streamed Netflix show in the UK. Now it's the number one show in the world. Just after the course of about a week and a half of this thing being up on the platform, it's an amazing story. But it is also, as you alluded to, the technical aspects of what they did to make this show. They blow my mind.
And it follows the story of Jamie, who's played by Owen Cooper. He's 13 years old, and it starts with a police raid on his house, and Jamie's accused of a murder. We don't know of whom. We don't know the circumstances, why, or anything. It starts very abruptly, and here's a little bit of the trailer.
What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
He's a good kid. Jamie, I want you to listen carefully. What's going on? I'm going to start off with asking you.
Do you know a girl called Katie Leonard? Yeah? Describe each other as friends then.
Is she dead then?
That's all I'm going to give him. I'm not going to give him any more, Gary, because I don't want to know any more than that.
No, it's great. Listen, the Owen Cooper is 13 years old, like you said, plays Jamie, this kid who's accused of this crime, and he has never acted in anything before. He wasn't in drama club in school. He wasn't in any sort of theater production. This was the first thing he's ever done. And I found this out today. I mean, if you've seen the show, we don't want to give away any spoilers, but if you've seen the show, the third episode is him talking to a therapist, a psychoanalyst, I guess you could call it. That was the episode that was shot first. They shot him out of order. And just the performances between the two main actors there, Owen Cooper and then Aaron Doherty played the therapist, that hour-long performance, uncut, unedited, I mean, it was hard to believe that kid had never done anything before.
1 hour, unedited, no cuts. If they were ad-libbing, I couldn't tell, but the range of emotions in that episode, you would think that this is a classically trained actor from this child.
Yeah, listen, and the outside of the performances, it's written incredibly well. Stephen Graham and Jack Thorne were the writers. Stephen Graham actually plays Jamie's dad in the whole thing, and he is just an absolute powerhouse through all 4 episodes. But think about, I mean, in cinema and TV, there have been attempts at doing one-shots like this before. And I think the one that immediately stuck out to me when you mentioned it when you were doing the lead-in, I recognized, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, if even that, into the first episode where they raid the house and they take the kid to the police station. I turned to my wife and I said, I think this is all in one shot, or at least it's one shot up to this point. And she said, yeah, but they probably edited. And I said, of course they edited. We know that, because you can't just do one shot for an entire hour, because it would be physically impossible to do. The one shot that I remember that I just can't describe the emotional impact of it is Danny on his tricycle in The Shining. That one shot of following him through the hallways, and that I think is the best example of it, because it proves that a long shot like that only builds tension. There's no relief. There's no letdown. There's no blink. There's nothing. You can't look away from it. And that was the perfect example of why you would do a shot like that. And then in this show, each minute adds a layer of tension or frustration or anger or curiosity, and there's no wiping away of any of it by switching the scene, by cutting, by a musical interlude, although there's music in it. But I mean, there's nothing that allows your body to kind of relax and catch its breath. It's an hour later, and I think that when my wife and I would watch these, we'd spend 5 or 10 minutes afterwards almost in complete silence. Like, what just happened? How did they do that? How could they possibly do that? The second episode with all the kids in the school yard, I mean, and the drone at the end, I'm blown away by it. I was looking up the categories for Emmys, and there's clear, I mean, it's March, so it's not like it's, in stone. But this is the clear leader in the clubhouse for acting, for casting, for cinematography, for directing, for lighting design, for technical direction and camera work, for writing. The only Emmy that this show is not going to win is the Emmy for outstanding picture editing. That's the only thing it's not going to win.
And this is not a spoiler. You mentioned a drone. You have like a schoolyard scene, and you're following all these kids, and the drone takes you to the other side of the town, and it picks up another scene in rhythm. I don't know how they coordinated these hundreds of people, because you're going from classroom to classroom to classroom, outside to another part of town with the drone, and it's seamless because it is one shot. I don't know. And part of it was like, I almost had to rewind some of the things, like, how did they even manage this? How did they even schedule all the extras and the people to be moving around at the right time and not miss the shot? Because without giving it away, they're covering a lot of physical ground in these scenes.
Yeah, well, I did, because I was, when I was telling you about it and I was frothing at the mouth last week, I waited until tonight until I finished the fourth episode to do any sort of the research for what they did behind the scenes. And they talked about it. It was more like they were preparing for a stage show, like it was a theater, because you get one take in theater. You have plenty of rehearsals, obviously, but you get one take in theater. And what they did was they would rehearse. They planned everything out for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then set aside 1 week for each episode. And they were going to do 2 takes each day for 5 days. So they're planned out to do 10 takes of each episode. I mean, just think that's mind blowing how much work that is. And everything from the technical direction, the choreography, passing the camera between different, not just between different cameramen and women, but the different equipment, because sometimes it was on a dolly that was attached to the car. Sometimes it was on a drone, like you said, where they would literally hook it to the drone, fly the drone over to this other parking lot, and then another cameraman unhooks it from the drone and carries it. Now, technically, you don't see the camera shutter. It doesn't vibrate. It doesn't shake. Just a testament to how much those guys worked on getting just the most minute details now down and perfect.
And I'm not going to give away the end. It's only 4 episodes. It's a limited series. But Gary, would you agree with me that there was more to be told?
You mean like it didn't end completely?
Correct.
Yes. I mean, I felt like that there's more to a story. There are questions that I would have that I would ask the writers if I had them. But it also is, I mean, that 4th episode is difficult to watch. If you're a parent, if you have kids, if you know kids, it is a difficult episode to watch because yes, Jamie is the main character. He's a kid. He's going through, what he's going through at teenager, adolescent life in a first world country brings with it baggage. But the story is more about, at least in that 4th episode, how the parents have to deal with what their kid is or maybe did or is accused of doing. And it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. But yeah, I did have some questions at the end.
I think if to best enjoy this, you will find yourself in this story somewhere. You're going to identify with the parent, or you're going to identify with the neighbor who's not so sure of what might have happened at this neighbor's house and how you would treat that person if you encountered them in town. It's just brilliant beyond words. And this is a perfect example of this would not have been made if not for a streaming platform like Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. You would not have been able to do this in a miniseries on television. I think the X-Files, that fantastic show, they did one episode that was 4 one-shots, 4 oneers, each of them 11 minutes long to make an hour-long, sci-fi show. That's as close as I can ever think of a popular show doing that on network television. I mean, you and I are fans of Daredevil. They did a great oneer in a hallway fight scene in the first season. They did a prison fight scene in the 3rd season that were both of those one shots. But you're right. You can't. That avenue of creativity would not exist if it weren't for a streaming service like this that wanted to pick this thing up.
Gary, you have any more recommendations you got for me? You're doing pretty damn well before I let you go.
We cleanse our palates with Clarkson's Farm, which is Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear, et cetera. He started a farm in Chadlington, just northwest of London, and it's absolutely hilarious.
I'll take you up on that. And just in case you're tuning in late, I've been speaking to Gary Hoffman, obviously one half of Gary and Shannon. You can listen to them weekdays here on KFI from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Go out and I should say go out. No, put on Netflix and see Adolescence. I don't think I've seen anything as compelling and I would say revolutionary in filmmaking in my life. No exaggeration.
I completely agree. This is one of those probably top 5 television shows I think I've ever seen in my life. It's going to change the way that people try to do things from now on.
Gary, my brother, my friend, I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mo. Appreciate it.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And I told you from the first segment what my final thought was going to cover. It's the biggest story in the world. And I mean in the world. In fact, when I leave here tonight, I still got to do an interview with the BBC because the world is wanting to ask us what the hell happened. And it's kind of hard to call it fake news when you texted the editor-in-chief of a major publication yourself. It's kind of hard to play the whole anonymous leaker game when it's you and 17 other people who are listed by name and or their numbers in a text chat. Kind of hard to do. The White House said today it was reviewing how the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic magazine was accidentally added, their words, to a group text in which people who appeared to be members of President Donald Trump's administration discussed plans to launch airstrikes against Houthi militants in Yemen. Let me step in here and help everybody out, make it real simple. There's nothing to review. We all know how to add people to a group text. We all know what it's like to accidentally add the wrong person or text the wrong person or drunk text the wrong person. Trust me, I know all about that. I've done it all, and I'm kind of an expert on this, so I'm more than qualified to opine. I've had more than a few drunk texts to my name. I'm not proud of it, but I'll tell the truth. What I don't know is how and why clearly classified information, including military operations strategy and strike specifics, found their way into a private, as in non-government agency system, text chat, which included non-government phones. For that, I have no answer. I got nothing. I don't know how or why the Secretary of Defense thought SMS or MMS, emojis and GIFs, were the appropriate delivery mechanism for top secret attack plans. I can't get in that man's mind. But I damn sure know what drunk texts look like. And this seems like the behavior of someone drunk texting. Literally. You know, not exercising good judgment. But forget all that. We all know it's no big deal, at least according to the Trump administration. Emails on non-government servers back in 2015. Now that was a big deal. Hillary Clinton, lock her up. Remember that? Classified documents in a bathroom that you refuse to give back even after the FBI sends over a subpoena. Nah. That's not a big deal. Texting military ops specifics to everybody and their mama and accidentally a journalist? Nah, not a big deal. I would rather you tell me that national security never was and never will be a thing. Just say that. Lie to me. I would rather you tell me that than try to pretzel yourself into a knot arguing that Hillary Clinton's emails were somehow worse than Pete's emojis. We know that Vice President J.D. Vance was part of that text thread. We know that Secretary of State Marco Rubio was also part of the text thread. We know that John Ratcliffe, CIA director, was also part of the thread. And so we can also rightfully assume that Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security, and Kash Patel, FBI Director, were also on that thread, given their likely need-to-know basis. Just spoof any and all of their numbers, and SecDef Pete will probably tell you anything you want to know. If not for the patriotism, and I do mean patriotism, of Jeffrey Goldberg, to neither go public nor share the privileged and classified info in advance, the world could have been a very different place today. Mission would have been compromised, and American servicemen and women would have been in more of harm's way. Oh, remember when people demanded Lloyd Austin, then Secretary of Defense, demanded that he resign for having a medical procedure and just not telling the president? Remember that? Oh, good times, I tell you, good times. But this is where I must invoke the roach theory once again. It's not the roach you see which should concern you, but all the ones you don't see. Do you really think this is the one and only top secret / highly classified information being bandied about on Verizon, Sprint, or T-Mobile bandwidth? Of course it isn't. You just don't start texting 17 of your closest government friends and giving them specifics on a military strike and not have 16 of them object unless that was a standard form of communication. And let me be honest here. I'm not mad. I'm not outraged. I'm not even surprised. I'm just saying, miss me with any supposed concerns about national security or China mining our secrets and data via TikTok. when all they need to do is hack U.S. telecoms. Oh, that's right. That's right. Remember when the Wall Street Journal reported on January 5th the Chinese hack of U.S. telecoms had compromised more firms than previously known? That hack comprised of AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile in 2024 and 2025. You think they don't already know about the careless and casual mode of communication between our defense apparatus or apparati, as they said in the commercials? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? For KFI AM 640, I'm Mo Kelly.
Perfect for achy, indecisive minds. KFI's cooling Info Gel quickly relieves ignorance and leaves a minty fresh scent.
KFI
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live